Hello there, Victoria and Gillian here from Money Love Immersion. Today, we're getting in the festive spirit, or are we? We're going to be talking about expectations. We're going to be talking about how easy it is to get caught up in pressure this time of year. And we're going to be talking about the things that you can be doing to help alleviate some of that, aren't we, Gillian?
Absolutely. Yeah. Christmas traditions are something we often think of as cannot be changed. And yet, I mean, I know in my life I've had various Christmas traditions over the years, and each one comes with a lot of expectations. So I think those expectations is where the pressure comes, because sometimes expectations don't match what we're capable of, time-wise, money-wise, energy-wise, all those things. So I think that's where we often end up after Christmas, which was supposed to be a happy festive time, feeling fatigued, grumpy, resentful.
Yeah, resentful, big, a bank balance that perhaps isn't where we want it to
Mm.
be, and a credit card statement incoming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's so many different aspects, and as you say, it kind of all starts with tradition. As you're talking there, I'm sort of thinking about, I'm sure you've got family traditions, and we've certainly got them as well, but they're also fueled so hugely by other people, aren't they? And other people, what other people are doing, and yeah, and the whole expectation thing about us all wanting to create it as a magical time, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, the impact there as well. So have you got anything that you want to start off sharing? Have you got any traditions, or
Yeah.
go on?
Well, I think that what's interesting, if I look through my life, has been how traditions have changed. And I mean, from being a child and growing up with this memory of, oh, there's magic, there's lots of presents under the tree. And in my particular case, my birthday and my sister's birthday are very close to Christmas. So it was just this whole period of holidays, birthdays, and Christmas became the big thing, really the annual big event. There wasn't like a birthday later in the year. And I think then in young adulthood and then having a family of my own, we sort of added some traditions, got some more people to be involved, and became also a very festive time. And then I recognize that and I see this with lots of families, so when I separated from my ex, and the issue of where will the children go at Christmas became a question, it was interesting to see how other families really wrestle with this because of expectations. And yet for us, it was quite fairly simple, because I decided with the kids that it would be so much more sensible to just have Christmas 6 weeks early, um, because then they could spend the whole December holidays in the summer with their
Mm,
dad. And so entered a new era. And I think what's important with that story is just that at the time of the first one, it seems like such a big thing to change a tradition. And yet actually it is within our power. Sometimes we just need a little shove. And sometimes that shove can be, I'm just going to keep it simple. So in my early Christmas, we stopped doing complicated food. I'm not mad about cooking, if anyone knows me. So we would get platters, we would get ready-made things, we would get a
mm,
lot of help, because I could also have memories of my mum moaning, oh, spent all day cooking, the food's eaten in
mm.
15 minutes, and then it's 3 hours of washing up the kitchen afterwards. And I thought I grew up thinking I'm never going to be like that when I grow up. I'm not going
Mm,
to spend
mm,
8 hours preparing food and then washing the dishes by myself and moaning about it.
mm,
And she grew up with that tradition that was how it must be. And so
mm.
I decided to change it. But it's difficult if you are suddenly with other people who expect that, and you have a clash of traditions. And I think that's where this pressure comes. It's all very well for me to say we'll have sushi platters or snacks and cheeses and champagne for lunch on Christmas Day, because it's nice and easy. But if you've got a cousin or in-laws or
Mm.
another branch of the family that says we want all the vegetables, trimmings, three
Yeah.
gravies.
Yeah, it's not how we do it. It's not how we do it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is it's interesting, isn't it? And it's when, as you say, sort of, your world gets bigger, or you meet a partner, and all these different things happen, that suddenly all these things are sort of under the spotlight, aren't they? But yeah, I talking about the cooking, I look back and remember my mum and my gran like preparing the vegetables the day before because it was such a big job. Um, and I cheat. I completely cheat. You know, we do have a traditional dinner, but I mean the whole lot's a complete cheat. You
That's
know,
when.
it's easy done because yeah, I'm a bit like, why would I want to spend all this time doing all of this stuff and everything? Um, but again, you know, I'm able to do that, and not everyone has the freedom necessarily to do that. And so, and actually as well, I still watch all the cooking programs. And I sit there watching all the cooking programs running up to Christmas, going, "Oh, I'm going to do that. Look at Jamie Oliver's fancy pumpkin with the cheese and leeks, and I'm going to do that." I'm not really, because you know it's something that is just going to stress me out really.
Mhm.
I tried to do it one year and it was the most stressful Christmas ever. And yeah, so it's kind of, so yeah, we have all these expectations and they're tied up with everything from the present giving to the food, to the Christmas parties. Oh, run up to Christmas is intense, isn't it, as well? Especially if you've got little ones, because there's a lot of Christmas plays, Christmas parties, Christmas films, Christmas pantomimes. There's so much, isn't there? And it can get incredibly overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I like what you were saying about how traditions change. And this is the
Mm.
thing, isn't it? It's very easy to make the assumption that they can't change, isn't it? It's very easy to think, do you know what? This is how Christmas should look. This is what is
Mm.
expected of me. I am expected to be able to produce a three-course meal out of thin air,
Mm.
on a really small budget.
Mm.
Um, but we don't really think that actually we can stop and change it, do we? So what was there a point where you sort of felt that you could? Did you have that moment, that realization when you, I mean, you mentioned it was kind of when your world changed a bit and it was sort of 6 weeks before Christmas and you thought, hang on a minute,
Yeah.
we can do this differently and we can do it early here. But I'd love to know more about sort of that moment, but also then what everyone else around you thinks about it.
Well, the really funny thing was that the first big change in my life was actually doing a very traditional Christmas, because in South Africa, where it's hot over Christmas, um, traditionally, I mean, I remember us having a simple roast. We were a small family, and then there would be times you'd go out for the day, and usually it would be Boxing Day. It would be a big braai barbecue. That would be the big outing day for people, and that's what I remember. And then as a young adult, thinking I was also going to be this fantastic hostess, I thought, we're going to do traditional. We're going to do a turkey. I'd never done a turkey in my life before. We're going to do all the vegetables. We're going to have lots of people. We're going to have lots of crackers. We're going to have lots of decorations. And so that was actually the first thing. And so it was really funny that I adopted a lot of hard work.
Mm.
And then later, when I had to discard it, I mean, the first really funny part was our Christmas tree. So so it was, I think it was about the 23rd of November was going to be our first early Christmas. So now we fast forward 20 years after doing all the traditional things. And we decided, well, it's really not even Christmas. So there's not even Christmas trees around. So we looked up what had happened, and it was the first day Doctor Who had aired, and we're all Doctor Who fans. So we made a Christmas TARDIS, which is now our family tradition. We made a big blue box, covered it in tinsel and lights, and that was our tradition. And my mum was like, that you can't have that for Christmas.
Mm.
So we've now got our own funny little Christmas, have had for the last 10 years. This year will be the first year it's different again, where we've had our Christmas TARDIS and our Christmas tree on two separate little tables. And it's just fun, and it just reminds me of the journey we've been on, our early Christmases. So even when we now have it sometimes on Christmas Day, I've always got the two up. So it does meet with resistance from others. And I think because I'd already made so many changes and my circle had been smaller, I can recognize that it was easier for me to say no. And I think the other story I'd like to share, which is my very first Christmas alone, after this early Christmas, the actual Christmas, I allowed myself to be kind of bullied into what I call a pity invite. And the person didn't mean it badly. The person was a friend of mine, is still a friend of mine. But it was like, you cannot spend the day alone on Christmas. You cannot spend the day alone. You have to come. And eventually I said, okay. And it was terrible. It was sad, and it was another family with all their traditions and all their ways. And going at 5 o'clock for a glass of wine might have been fine, but spending the whole day, and I suddenly realized I need to be firm with what works for me.
So we're talking boundaries. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's, protect my own energy. And I think this is where it's so easy to get carried away. So in that case, it was a friend, really good intentions, absolute kindness, just thought this was a good thing, but it wasn't a good thing for me. And I think this is where, for other people, whether it's trying to buy, I don't know, the latest Xbox, although that's probably not what's in at the moment, because I'm up to my whatever. But the latest gadgets or phones or expensive shoes or things that we, if it's a stretch and we to buy those gifts, then we shouldn't. And if it's too much effort to go and visit Granny in the morning and Auntie in the afternoon and someone else at 10, then we must learn to say no. We must learn to say, you know what, I'll visit you on the 5th of January. I don't have to visit you on this day. And absolutely. I think that's where we sometimes stretch ourselves then.
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure on a short amount of time. And I know it's the same time every year. So, you can plan for it and all the rest of it. But it is still overwhelming, isn't it? For many of us. And there's so many things as well that we do that is wasteful, isn't it? That we do get caught up in. I mean, I have to laugh because it reminded me when I worked somewhere a few years ago, and rather than doing the Secret Santa thing, they did an evil Santa thing, and it was brilliant because you brought in something that you were going to send to the charity shop. So it might have been a present that you got and you're re-gifting it, or you could go to a charity shop and get something if you wanted to. And it was a whole game around sort of like these strange items. There'd be anything from, a picture frame of, really ornate kittens and games and stuff. But it was just, and it was such a good focus for the team and for the atmosphere, and so much fun. And also it literally was costing people very little to take part in. There wasn't this pressure of, then you've got to get a gift for them and a gift for them and everything else. And we don't make it easy for ourselves, do we? We really don't, because we allow so much external influence in, I think, don't we? So what's some good tips, for people? I mean, I guess we're getting quite close to Christmas now, but I think for me as a parent, I know that it's very easy to kind of just get pulled into what is expected of me at Christmas, but actually to sort of rewind a bit and get to sort of mid-November or even earlier and say, right, this is what I want Christmas to look like this year. This is, start making some choices. This is how I want to feel as well, because that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, my favorite part of Christmas is the bits between. It's the quiet days when we've got no visitors and we've done the Christmas, and I can lie on the sofa and I can, eat leftovers and stay in my pajamas all day. That for me is Christmas. There's no pressure and it's just chilled and I love it. So it's kind of, what can we do to kind of set these boundaries to say, okay, I need to look after myself, because if I'm worn out and flat broke and, anxious and stressed, then it's not, Christmas isn't enjoyable, is it? You're watching people open gifts while your heart's sinking because your credit card's creaking or whatever else, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's 2 aspects to that from my perspective. The one is manage expectations where you can. So and accept that you can change your mind. So that like 3 visits on a day, it's like, prepare granny that you're not going to visit on Christmas Day. You might pop around on the 27th or whatever it is, but it's about managing those expectations, because I think that spreading ourselves thin financially, time-wise, energy-wise, I mean, they all three go together, is just such a big factor. And then the other thing that, I mean, I've been guilty of, and my kids laugh at me because I'm the worst when it comes to that, is manage the expectations and then stick to your own rules. So mine is like the gifts. It's like, okay, we all do it in our family. And it's become a standing joke, but it's actually can be destructive. It's like, okay, we're only going to buy each other one gift. And then you start seeing all the shops and the things, and you start talking about it, and you start getting caught up with it, and then it's like, oh, but this is so cute, or that's so nice, or but what about this? And then you bought 5 for the one child, and then you think, oh, let me go and buy some more things for the other child, and it's completely self-inflicted.
It is, isn't it? And I think it's so, I mean, but I mean, of course, marketing is so clever, isn't it? And this is the thing, you know, you can sort of you can set all these things, but then, like you say, it's sticking to them, because then you walk into that department store and you're like, whoa, oh, like, yeah. And also, I think it's hard as well, isn't it? When, you know, you've got kids coming back saying, you know, what they want. I mean, we're a bit beyond Christmas lists in our house now, but you know, when my youngest son was rattling through what he wanted, you know, me and my husband were sitting there and he's got no idea. This is like the £5,000 list that but you know, that's coming out here, and it's but there's so much, well, you know, they've got that, and it's just fed, and it's fed from every direction. So you get it when you go shopping, you get it when your kids come in and want stuff. You know, I long for the days when it was a simple, I just want a yellow rolling pin or Batman pajamas. A simpler time. But it comes from everywhere, doesn't it? And it's how we respond that's so important, isn't it? And I think that's what's important, because it's not, if you can't do it, don't force it. Don't give your power away by finding ways to do it, because that could end up making you feel bad. It's that whole response of, that's not what we're choosing to spend our money on this Christmas.
Yeah. And I wanted to sort of underline that thing, is that if we don't manage the expectations, and if we're not clear, and if we are not honest, we can end up, I always say, doing a Vesuvius and suddenly exploding, and maybe, I mean, shouting at a child and saying, we can't afford it, or this, or no one helps me, or I'm so tired, I had to do everything. All those sort of things which sound very, victim-y, and you've given your power away because we left it too late.
Yeah.
And we let it brew and stew, and so I think that, you know, we're going to get one present this Christmas because we're choosing to spend our money differently. Or because we're saving for the holiday, or whatever it is. But just I think we underestimate how people will actually tolerate well if they have a reason.
They will. And this is what the other really big, I mean, this is a key message at Christmas as well, isn't it? This is the message. You don't, you know, we're wrestling with it. On one level, it's, you don't need to spend money. It's about being with the people you love, And on the other hand, it's spend. Yeah. But you're so right. If you are responsible, and actually what I did with my son was I kind of said to him, well, you go away and have a think about, you know, have a look, do the research, and you know, figure out what it's costing, and then, you know, and he kind of went through the process and got there himself, and then he was like, oh, okay, right, I hadn't realized that. But it's just that whole thing, isn't it, of just those choices that you make. And as I say, it's just not what we're choosing to spend our money on this Christmas. We're choosing to, like you say, have a really lovely day with the people that matter, and then we're going to have that amazing holiday next summer, because that's what we're choosing to spend our money on. And I don't think really people get it, don't they?
Yeah,
people get it.
And it comes down to the time thing as well. I mean, I'm thinking of that same Christmas where the Christmas day was not so great, but our Boxing Day, the day after, with the same people, was great. And we sat and we ate the leftover trifle. There was a lot. We watched
Mm-hmm.
Love Actually. We laughed. We had and I just thought that was great. So then I knew for myself, and we learned, is that sort of going out for a kind of non-traditional visit was fun, but the traditional one was not. So I think that spending your time, spending your money, they're both so what's the word? They're so entwined. How we treat the one is often how we treat the other. So you find, and you see a lot with people, is that when they're starting to get worn thin, they'll spend more money than they want to because they're tired and they don't have any space for themselves. So it really goes hand in hand together. So it's okay to say, no, thank you, or I'm not going to come at 12, I'm going to come at 3. Or what, it's just learning to, I think, really protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is, isn't it? So taking a bit of time, find some quiet time if you can. I know you might already be kind of way up there in the craziness of the planning and everything, but take some quiet time and have a think about how you want to feel during Christmas. I think that's something that's really important. Take some time and notice if you're starting to feel resentful, anxious, overwhelmed, tired. If those gut responses to can we do this, can we do that, then it's really just slow down, isn't it, and notice what are your priorities for Christmas, because if you're feeling that way, it's because you're not honoring what you truly want to create at Christmas. And if more of us, oh my goodness, if all of us led with what we truly want rather than getting caught up in what we think we should be doing and people pleasing and all those other things, it would be just so much easier to navigate this world, wouldn't it? So really slow down, have a think, I mean, you're a great journaler, aren't you, Gillian? So someone could grab a journal and have a think about, but leading with how do they want to feel over Christmas? Yeah. Any other sort of seed you could plant there?
Well, just to acknowledge the fact that following this route, you might have a sulky 10-year-old for half an hour. You might, great Aunt Maggie or whoever knows may be out of joint. But wearing yourself out is going to destroy it for everybody, and mostly yourself. So there are some people, you're not responsible for their feelings. So I think I just want to emphasize that this approach is not going to result in everyone being happy, but it is going to result in yourself being at peace. And some people must just figure it out for themselves. And I think the people pleaser in us comes out big and strong and fighting at this time of year. And so, yes, exactly what you said. Pause, and consider, what do I want? And in my immediate family, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Just take some time and think about it, and and lead from there, really is the very best that we can do. And yeah, like you say, don't be afraid to say no, don't be afraid to change things. When a tradition's thrown at you, actually, oh, I love that your family used to do that. But for us here and now, this is a way we can adapt it or let it go or whatever it needs to be. But yeah, it's so easy to wear ourselves out and feel the pain well into the new year as well, because I often, when I used to have the most stressful Christmases, I used to feel like it wasn't a holiday at all, until I got to that gap in between where I could rest. But it's your holidays, they should be fun, they should be full of joy. So don't pile the pressure on. So any final words of wisdom before we tie up, do you think? No?
It's been a great conversation as always, and just wishing everybody a
peaceful and relaxed Christmas. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go and have a think about what you want to create, and slow down and lead with that. And we wish you all the very best, don't we?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks for watching, everyone. We will see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.